Hey everyone, welcome back into the podcast. This is Two Catholic Dudes, and my name is Ryan Klaus.
My name is Dane. You paused weird.
I did. We are not priests, we are not theologians, we're just two Catholic dudes. We're talking about our faith, as always.
And today I will say I'm very excited about today's episode.
Are you super pumped?
Super pumped, because we're going to talk about superheroes.
Nice.
And how we can all be Catholic superheroes.
We sure can.
We're called to be. Called to be great. Pope Benedict calls us to greatness. So we're going to talk about that today.
All
and
right.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, this is more your field. I mean, I dig superhero movies, but I'm not like, I don't geek out on them.
Sure.
I don't know the lore. Every time we go and see like a Marvel movie from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know they have the tag, the end after the credits, something comes back up and it's like an Easter egg for something that's coming up. And
everyone's like, whoa!
Everyone's like, whoa! And I look at him like, what the heck was that? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I remember after the first part of the Avengers.
Oh, and the Captain Marvel thing.
When the Captain Marvel thing comes up, I'm like, that means nothing to me. And you're like, well, it's Captain Marvel's thing. And then he tells me all their backstory.
Yeah. I'm a big superhero nerd. I read a lot of comic books as a kid. I played a lot of superhero video games. Superheroes are just like my thing. I still to this day love superheroes. I like them.
Well, our culture has moved towards just loving them.
Well, see, now it's popular to like superheroes.
Yeah.
I liked superheroes before there was any movies or when there was only bad movies.
I think as a kid, I wanted to like them a lot more because, yeah, they weren't super cool. I mean, I'm older than you. I was a kid in the 90s.
Sure.
And but I did buy comic books, and I was into Spider-Man. I thought I was going to be an artist at some point when I was like 10 years old. I wanted to be like drawing things, but I would buy like a Spider-Man comic book, and I don't think I traced it, but I would put it right next to it, and I would like just try to
copy it.
Yeah. I still have a couple from my childhood days. They're not great. I'm glad I didn't move into that field because I don't think that's what God was calling me to. But I was infatuated with the superheroes even as a kid.
Oh yeah,
before they were popular.
Yeah, I've been a superhero fan for a long time. I used it I remember a couple years ago, I did like a video skit for my confirmation class that we were trying to depict the 7 deadly sins, and I used the Batman villains. Like I had a Batman villain that represented each sin, and then Batman was like representative of Jesus, and we all dressed up and we all decked out in Batman gear and did this little skit. And
do you remember what they were?
Oh yeah, of course. I wrote the whole thing.
Hit me with it.
Let's see.
Let's do it.
So it was the premise of it was like Batman was like God. He was the one who was the God figure in the skit, and Poison Ivy and Catwoman were lust. Because the premise of the skit was too is that Robin, Batman's sidekick, he was going.
That's who I'm going to be in this episode, by the way, because this is your field. Continue.
Is Robin was going off to encounter sin, to go find it, and Batman was like, "Don't go looking for it. Like, we'll deal with it as it comes, but don't go out and look for it." And Robin's like, "I'm going to go find it." And
he's like, "Holy smokes, Batman!"
Yeah, and so he comes running out to without Batman, without Jesus, to go and just defeat his sins all by himself. So he goes, and it was like Catwoman and Poison Ivy, who are like they're always depicted in the comic books as these like beautiful women. They were lust, and anger was Bane, right? Because he's in the new movies, he's depicted more as like a criminal mastermind.
You remember him from Batman and Robin?
That's how it's supposed to be. Where
really?
In the comic books, he was like a professional wrestler who got like this serum injected into him, and then he went like a rage monster.
Okay,
that's how he's supposed to be.
All right, continue on.
Anyway, so Bane was anger. Let's see. Joker was pride. Right? Yeah, Joker was pride. And the Gotham PD was sloth, because they just let Batman do all the work.
All right.
Greed was the Riddler.
Yeah, he's green.
He's
he
green.
All the money.
Steals money.
Yeah.
What sins am I missing? Envy.
What about Penguin?
I don't think he had Penguin.
Oh man.
Yeah. Envy, I think, was Two-Face.
Okay.
Two-Face.
What a cool idea, though.
But it was just like, I don't remember. It was just.
I'm testing you on something you did a while back.
It was a whole big thing where the premise of it was that Robin was trying to go out and fight sin alone, without Batman, without Jesus, like how we try to deal with our sin in our life without Christ. And once we had like every time Robin would encounter a sin, like Batman was like in the background, like, hey, I'm here. Because we're like, when we try to do these things, like God is with us. We just have to acknowledge that He's there and know that like, we can't defeat sin on our own. We have God to defeat it God defeated it for us.
Yeah.
You know? It was just a cool idea to depict sin for the kids.
That's like in Batman Forever from like 1996.
Yeah.
When Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin, took the Batmobile and drove off into the city, and he was about to get jumped by all those like 90s looking goons.
Yeah.
And he was in big trouble. And then who showed up to save him? Batman.
Yep. That's how it goes. Terrible movie. But anyway, so like that was just like, I've been using superheroes to get back on track. I've been using superheroes to try to be involved with faith as much as I possibly could. So we had a whole superhero themed night at youth ministry one year. It was really fun. So,
and why not reach the kids where they can be engaged, reach them where they're at, reach them. We always say like reach people with the beautiful. And if people are engaged with superheroes right now, because it is so popular in our culture, that do that. Find creative ways to speak through that medium to get them excited about their faith.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm wearing this T-shirt today.
Yeah, you probably can't see it on camera.
You can't see it.
Turn it to the camera there. Read it to them.
Anyways, if you're not watching, obviously, but it's Jesus. Jesus is on the shirt, and he's sitting with all these different superheroes from popular culture, and he's telling them how he saved the world, and they're all just sitting there listening to God, listening to how Jesus truly saved the world. And I just thought it was such a cool shirt.
Yeah.
Because it shows that Jesus is our superhero. Because a lot of the times we as society, little kids dress up. We all, me to this day, we all emulate, like we want to be these heroes. We want to be these superheroes. They're who we look up to. But Jesus should be who we look up to. Jesus is our hero. Jesus is our savior. That's who we should be looking for. That's who we should be striving to be like in our life. So I thought it was just like a really cool depiction that these superheroes, these people that everyone looks up to, we're looking to Christ for like, please tell us how to save that world.
Yeah, I love that. And this is like, it's like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. These are like the pinnacle figures. We're mixing universes here.
Well, because God is of all universes.
Yeah, there you
go. The Flash is reading the Bible.
And they're all like, because they're the ones that we look to in our popular culture, but they're all looking to Christ because He has all the answers. And
exactly.
He is the ultimate savior.
Right. So I just thought it was a cool shirt.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's say, like, go off topic a little bit. If you could have a superpower, what would be your superpower?
Oh, man. I always come up with weird things because...
Yeah, you do.
People stop asking me these kind of questions because everyone's like, I'd have the power of flight or invisibility. And, like, that's what everybody says. I'm like, it probably has something to do with hearing, honestly, because music...
Perfect pitch.
That is like a superpower. You know about perfect pitch now. I told you all about that. That's it. That's my superpower because that really is kind of if I could have. And here's the deal: people that have perfect pitch. If you guys missed the episode where we talked about it, it's really a superpower where you have it or you don't. You kind of learn it when you're from a baby up until 1 year old is the window when when your ears develop it, your brain develops it. You have the opportunity to when there's any note played, your brain just knows what note it is. You're like, that's a B flat, that's an A. Obviously, you have to be trained to know that those are notes, but your brain just knows hearing it. Even if you like hit a glass, your brain would be like, that's an E, that little out of tune E, whatever. But often they take it for granted because they've had it their entire life. Sometimes it can even be a hindrance. I think it would be interesting as a superpower to have it now that I've never had it my entire life, but also be able to turn it off or on.
Well, it's funny because we talk about that, like some powers being a hindrance, because you hear that in like a lot of the origin stories of these superheroes, like before they could learn to control their powers,
like Cyclops.
Like Cyclops, he's just like blah, or like someone that has super strength, they like. Every time they land, they like create a crater in the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, every Superman movie, well, the recent ones, he makes so much damage everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, he saved the city. Yeah, well, he destroyed.
Yeah, he destroyed the economy because there's $1.2 trillion in damage. So great job, Superman.
But they're always like conveniently everyone left the city right before this big battle with the Superman. Yeah, good for them.
Good evacuation by our first responders.
But yeah, there's this giant crater.
All right, then how about this? We'll change the question because Jesus, when he did his ministry, he formed a team of his disciples. You know, they were kind of the Avengers of the day to go out and evangelize. So if you could pick like a team of 3 popular superheroes, who would be on your team?
I can mix universes.
Yeah, everything goes. If you want to,
I feel like Superman doesn't count.
If you want to pick like the Tick, go ahead.
Dude, I love that show when I was a kid. I feel like Superman has to be off the table because
you can't have about this. Superman, he's Mr. Powerful, and you can't have Jesus because he's ultimate win. So no Jesus, no Superman. Pick 3 superheroes. I already got mine.
Probably Iron Man.
Okay.
Because not only like is stupid, he has so much money and resources to do whatever.
Sure.
Iron Man. I'm looking at your shirt for cues too. I'm gonna go with Daredevil because we were talking about good Catholic superheroes.
Daredevil is Catholic.
He's Catholic and he's troubled Catholic for sure.
Yeah.
But trying to find somebody that's Catholic. I like Captain America because he represents all that is good. You know, just absolutely pure good. There's so much blurred lines in our culture and even in our movies.
He is just good.
He's absolutely good. That's why he can hold the shield.
Yeah.
And
that's also why he got Thor's hammer in that movie.
Yeah,
that's why he was ultimate good.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he was the epitome of good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay, that's a solid team.
Yeah, it was just kind of standard guys because I'm like looking at your shirt and I don't know so much.
Mine are also popular.
Okay.
I'd have Batman, my heart and soul.
I wasn't gonna choose that because I know that's yours.
Batman's my guy. Wolverine is a little unorthodox, a little unpredictable.
Yeah, a little wild card right there.
But he's cool. He has cool powers. And then I would pick Spider-Man.
Okay,
Spider-Man's good.
What about?
And he's quirky.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Who's my favorite Spider-Man?
Yeah, in the movie.
Like, are we talking about the movies?
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah,
the newer ones. I do like the old Tobey Maguire movies. I don't like the Andrew Garfield. I don't like the Andrew Garfield
3.
ones. Yeah.
I saw Spider-Man 3 by myself in the theater, which is weird. I see movies by myself sometimes. I'll probably be seeing more by myself when I move down to Orange County.
Sad.
I know. But I saw Spider-Man 3. What a weird movie to see by yourself. And then like that was so dumb.
The weirdest part is he'd never seen 1 or 2.
Yeah, so you got your team, I got my team.
Anyway, so I just thought it was interesting.
Sure. What I was thinking about, my mind's all over the place.
Sure.
When you were saying about like Superman making craters as he like lands and stuff. Do you remember that movie with Will Smith? Was it Hancock?
Yeah.
Like they actually they
addressed
fun at it.
They addressed that.
They'd be like, "Bro, are you kidding me? I just
like we just now have to repave the road," and he has to like learn how to like land like appropriately.
Yeah.
Super funny. Anyway. So, but like, okay, so we're talking about these superheroes and the world and the culture is moving towards this, you know, it's a superhero world now. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is the most popular thing on the planet. And these are the examples a lot of people have. Their costumes kids are wearing, video games, everything. But how can we be superheroes? How are we called? How is Christ calling us to be a superhero in today's world?
Right. You know, we can all be superheroes. We might not have. We did a post on this on our Instagram. By the way, if you guys aren't following us on Instagram, check us out, 2 Catholic Dudes. But about, I think it's what Luke chapter 12,
48, verse 48.
Verse 48. Yeah. You kind of have to, you know, sneak in there a little bit, but it's essentially the quote of "With great power comes great responsibility," and it's God saying, "With those that have much more will be asked of you."
Exactly.
You know?
Like, and it goes back to, like I quoted Pope Benedict earlier in the episode, you are called to be great. And that's difficult. Being great is difficult. And I like that quote, the with great power comes great responsibility, because we do have great power. We are made in the image and likeness of God. You know, we have that. We are called to be living examples of Jesus. And that is a tall task.
Right.
It's not easy.
But we might not have shields and hammers. We might not have super strength.
Or millions of dollars.
my friend, when you ask him the question about what superpower would he want, he always goes, or no, what superhero would you be?
He says Batman.
He goes,
He's got millions
Batman,
of dollars.
millions of dollars. He has all the money. And you go, oh, you can't be Batman. That doesn't count. And he goes, okay, Iron Man. The same thing. But
let's not get me started on Batman because people go, he's not really a superhero. He has no powers. I will destroy you. Anyway.
But okay, so we don't have those things probably, right? But we do have the power within us to do good every single day.
Yeah.
And it can be in the smallest of things. And most often that's when the biggest change can happen, in the little small things that you do every single day.
Well, I think one of the greatest superpowers that we all have that we don't really look at as a superpower is the power of free will. That we can all choose to be good every day. We can choose to help each other. We can choose to love each other. We can choose to be kind. We can choose to help those in need. Like, that is a power that we take for granted sometimes.
Right. God could be forcing us to say, all right, everyone just live in a perfect life. Just do good all the time. But that's not love. That's not true love.
Right.
And so he gives us that free will. And we have that opportunity to do good on our own. Right. That's a superpower right there. That's exactly. That's beautiful.
Because, we all have we all have our life, and we can choose to follow God and do what God asks us, or to do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And they always say that, like, there was always a quote that we would talk about when we were kids. We would play superheroes. It would be like, would you be a superhero or a supervillain? Because sometimes the supervillains are cool. They look cool. They have cool powers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always something that, one thing that I always loved about superheroes, though, when it was like the big difference between a superhero and a supervillain, is a superhero always had persistence and perseverance. They never gave up. A lot of times when there's a supervillain, they've already, like, most of the times in these movies or these comic books, there's a time where you think the hero's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost.
Well, it's a format, in movies and like when you're in your wrestling.
Sure.
There's arcs to it, like storylines, right?
Of course.
And to grip our full emotion,
right?
We have to think that there's
a moment of defeat.
There's a moment of defeat, and the supervillains are going to win.
Right. But we have that as well in our Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment of defeat. Jesus died.
Mm-hmm.
And all of his disciples,
they're like, like, hang it up, we're done.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Lock ourselves in the room, and we're not coming out because they'll get us next.
The two were walking out of Jerusalem. They're like, see ya.
Yeah.
Our Savior's dead. That's it.
But God then, he came, he did ultimate move, ultimate hero, ultimate savior, defeats death, defeats the ultimate villain of death.
Yeah.
So
what's that part of the wrestling match you call it when you come back?
The comeback.
It's just the comeback.
Yeah, it's called the comeback.
All right. Well, sometimes you have weird creative names, but
no, it's called the comeback.
It's just the comeback.
Yeah.
All right. So God came back, and everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh man!" So like that, and that happens, and that's gonna happen to us in our life too. We're gonna have moments of defeat where we think, "I can't live this way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be this hero. I can't be this disciple of God. And it's too difficult." But that's when God calls us to persevere, to push through, to be the hero, to be that greatness that he's calling us to be those superheroes.
Absolutely.
I think that's when we're called to be those Catholic superheroes. When it's the most difficult to hold to the faith, we hold to it and be that example for everyone else.
Exactly. But then, as that quote says, when you're on the opposite side of the spectrum and you're feeling great and you're feeling super powerful, you feel like you're holding Captain America's shield,
mm-hmm.
you're whipping around Thor's hammer.
You can do more.
You can do so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And God's going to throw super villains at you
mm-hmm.
because he knows you now have that power to handle it.
Right.
And so much more will be asked of you.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to step up to that call and be that superhero that God is calling you to be.
Right. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Well, and on the topic of this note of it's not always easy to be that hero, to be that good, strong Catholic, to follow God when it's, because I was talking to my teenagers about this, my youth group just the other day, and we were talking about how nowadays not following God, like being someone that that turns away from God, and especially when the high school teens, they suffer with like the party scene and reputation and popularity. I would argue that doing all that stuff is the easy route. That's the easy road.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's not even Bishop Barron had a homily once that I was in an event at, and he said that if you actually want to be rebellious, because back in the day, doing like smoking or doing drugs or whatever, like that was like we were being rebellious, right? Like that was like I'm going to go against what everyone says. I think nowadays, and Bishop Barron said this in his homily, following God is being rebellious. That's that's counterculture. 100%. That's counter what everyone else is doing. That's counter what everyone says is you're supposed to do.
Even more so right now. It always has been a little bit, but before, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the culture was to be Christian and Catholic. Yeah. And in this world of this ever-growing population of the nuns, as Bishop Barron keeps talking about, it is counterculture to be Christian, and it's hard, and it's the opposite thing that the culture is pushing towards. And it's a challenge, and you're going to be called to do difficult things. Yeah, and I would say that I think that a lot of the times is turning away from God is the easy route, because that's just what everyone else is doing. And that's what I was telling the teenagers. I'm like, I think that's the easy route. Caring about popularity and your reputation and everything else, and just to fit in and not making anyone uncomfortable, or not being like, I don't want to be too religious or anything like that. Like that's taking the easy way out. When God calls us not to be great. And sometimes being great means being uncomfortable, right? A lot of these superheroes we talk about, their stories were stories of being uncomfortable. When they becoming these heroes was a difficult journey for them. Yeah, I mean, you see now that they've been able to develop the MCU, and you got to see origin stories of pretty much all these characters. Yeah. The other universe with DC. DC, they didn't do such a great job with that. Nope. What do you think about the DC movies? I know you love Batman, but like, wow. The Christopher Nolan directed Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, those are incredible movies. The Dark Knight is probably my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies ever. Yeah. But like Wonder Woman was actually awesome. That was good. But like Justice League was the worst. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. That movie That movie was it was 2 hours of an explanation of why the Justice League is needed unless Superman is around. Unless Superman's the bad guy. And then they all got destroyed, and then Superman snapped out of it. It was like Superman comes in, he's running faster than the Flash. He's like, I got this. Yeah, and he runs back. He's like, settle down, guys, take a break. He's just like buried everybody else's. Like, there's no need for anybody else because all they got is you. Anyway, it was bad, and I didn't really love Aquaman. Oh, that was awful. That was awful. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not a big. The thing about I've been watching a lot of I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and there's this one channel I watch. They talk a lot about VFX artists, and VFX in movies and everything, and how VFX has come so far, and we can do all kinds of special effects. That we couldn't do, and we would always have to do practical effects. But like for some reason, it doesn't feel real or right, or it just looks weird. And why is that happening? And obviously they use so much of it in all these movies, especially these superhero movies with all this action. Right. But they were looking specifically at like Jurassic Park, the original, and why that still looks great compared to the new Jurassic Park. Did you see the brand new one? Yeah. Not great. So bad, but like an animatronic dinosaur versus a completely digitally made dinosaur. Yeah. They had a real dinosaur that they made, like that T-Rex scene with the kids in the car. It's a real dinosaur. It's a real dinosaur coming in. So like these kids are probably actually terrified, and they're really acting it. But you can like feel that, and the way the light hits this real thing, our brains understand that. But then when they just create it all in post, right. It's not 100% right. Plus, the actors are acting to like some dude in a green suit going, but it's a mess. And so like that carries over into the superhero movies, and like, but a lot of times they don't have the budget to even finish it on time. They're like, hey, we got 2 weeks to finish this thing, but like whatever you guys can do, get it out there. And Aquaman, I think, was one of those cases where it's like wasn't great. It was real bad. But it is what it is. They're entertainment, so not gonna like everything. Yeah.
But I think I mentioned it before. I want to go back to Superman for a second. Because something that Superman does that I think we're all called that's big. I'll use Superman, but every superhero, they have this secret identity, right? And they don't want anyone to know that they have this incredible power, that they're fighting for good. And in comic books, it's they were trying to protect the ones they love from the evil and and things like that. But I think that many times us as Catholics, we kind of do that. We kind of mask ourselves, especially the younger group. It's easy to be at church one way, but out in the regular world,
they pop on their glasses.
Yeah, you pop on those glasses, you straighten up your tie, and you don't want anyone to know, because sometimes, when Superman's out in his underwear outside the tights and his cape, and it's pretty obvious, like, wow, that guy is Superman.
Bro, you're wearing your underwear outside your pants.
You look a little funny, right? You're in a funny costume. And sometimes maybe we feel like that'll be us. If I outwardly express my faith, people look at me like, ugh, this guy with his holier than thou, or he's overly spiritual, or he's whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, we may get those uncomfortable looks, But I think that we are called to not be afraid. To not be afraid to live in our truth and live in that our identity is in Christ. Unbutton that shirt, show your symbol, take off your glasses.
There's no more phone books, so
yeah.
Just find a good place to change.
Yeah, and live in your truth.
Or phone booth. What I say, phone booth.
There is phone books.
There's phone books. Phone booths. There's no more phone booths.
Right. But live in your truth. Live in your truth. Live in your greatness. Live who you are called to be. You're called to be a hero. You're called to be super powerful for God. But you have to be willing to live that life outwardly. That's been the theme of a lot of our podcasts lately, is living your faith outwardly. And I think that's don't take the easy way out.
All right, so real quick, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the characters that are in MCU or in DC, comic book characters that are Catholic or have Catholic values, or that they're it's centered around churches and stuff like that.
Okay.
I always loved Nightcrawler, just because I think that's a really cool power to teleport like that. Also scary. I don't know if I would want that, because he even talks about
he has to see where he's going.
He has to see where he's going.
Or he could end up inside of a wall or something.
Or that would be bad news. But he is straight up. He's like the most Catholic.
He's a devout Catholic. He was like a priest in one of the comic angles. He becomes a priest.
He becomes a priest in one. He was like a seminarian.
When they find in X-Men 2, the movie X2, when they find him, he's in an abandoned church, and he has tattoos on his body depicting every saint.
Wow.
He's the Nightcrawler character is a very devout Catholic.
I think that's really cool. And I think Marvel does a very good job. I heard maybe that one or two of the creators of Marvel were Catholic, and so there's a lot of Catholic values that are throughout the comic books and everything. And I think there's remember the old X-Men cartoon, like from the 90s?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think there's an episode where Nightcrawler actually evangelizes with...
he takes Wolverine to Mass.
He takes him to Mass.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, he takes Wolverine to Mass. Because Wolverine needed it.
He definitely needed it. Nightcrawler's one of my favorites. I think...
Yeah.
And then Daredevil, we talked about before.
Catholic.
I watched the whole Daredevil series. I love that show. It's really cool. And he's obviously deeply flawed. As
are we all.
He grew up Catholic in the orphanage that he was raised in, and so in the series, he's often in confession, and the priest that kind of helped raise him is his mentor and his confidant and everything. And so a lot of the series takes place in that church, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and then another one, this is a more comic book, and there's no movie or anything, is the Huntress.
Okay, what does she
she's
do?
She's like a monster hunter. Vampire hunter.
Oh, like
female Van Helsing is what she is, And cool. Van Helsing, he's not really a superhero, but like
I think there's a couple other that we looked at that are like actually main Catholic figures. But the interesting thing about it is a lot of them are like demonic looking. Like Nightcrawler looks like a demon.
Yeah, they're depicted as demons, like how they look, but they're Catholic themselves.
Yeah. Interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think it's really great. I think MCU does a good job of throwing those Catholic values into the comics.
Right.
Yeah, so there's probably a whole bunch more, and if we dived in and really did our research instead of just jumping into this, we could probably find all kinds of examples of not only Catholic superheroes, but times that people were Christ figures in these movies and comic books, and that really exemplified our Catholicism in these series.
Right. Well, another thing that's going on right now with the superhero world is we talk about these superheroes or these examples. It's popular culture nowadays, but there's a lot of like, what do you call them? Like anti-heroes, right?
Yeah.
They're the characters that kind of flirt with the line.
Yeah.
The most popular one right now is like Deadpool.
Sure.
You know, Deadpool, he's like comic relief, but like Deadpool's like a hero who's trying to do the right thing, but like he does it in his own way.
He does whatever he wants.
Really
he kills whoever he wants.
Kills whoever he wants. He does whatever he wants, but he's like labeled as a hero.
Yeah. Or what's his name with all the guns?
Punisher.
Yeah.
Punisher.
I thought that was a really good show too. But again, there's really blurry lines.
Well, and that's a big reason why like Batman is one of my favorite heroes, because the reason being is in 90% of the comic books that Batman's in the movies is Batman lives by a code. Like Batman will not kill. He does not use guns. Like he won't do it. Like even the most evil villains in the world, like he won't kill them. Like he catches them again.
He's always putting Joker in jail, and Joker always gets away, like their favorite Christmas song.
Yeah. but he lives by that code, and we as Catholics, we kind of live by a code. We live by the 10 Commandments. We live by what God calls us to do. We are asked to live a certain way, and to like certain things are important to us, and we are supposed to hold those true values. So I always resonated with Batman. That's why he was one of my favorites, because like, and you could tell that like sometimes it's difficult. Like sometimes it's hard, what we were saying earlier, to live the way God is calling you to live. It's not going to be.
He was like, it'd
road.
Be so much easier just to shoot this guy, but he's like, oh man, I have to do all this extra stuff.
Exactly, but like
it's the right thing to do.
But he couldn't do it. He wouldn't break his code. He wouldn't break what he believed he was doing. What was right
it's dangerous when we start to blur those lines and become more like characters like Deadpool or the Punisher. And I think, and the interesting thing about all these movies is those are like really popular movies and TV shows, and kids are resonating with those characters.
Right.
I'm sure kids are always going to still like Batman and the main superheroes, but like they're really resonating with those quote unquote anti-heroes.
Right.
And even if you look at villains, it's become more of a theme. Like before, like villains
were emphatically bad.
You didn't know why they were doing the bad things that they were doing. You didn't care. They just wanted to blow up the world or take over the world or whatever it was. But you didn't empathize with them. And like look at again Avengers. There was 2 parts. The first one, what was it called? Infinity War.
Infinity War.
They really made you feel for Thanos and feel that like in his movie. In his own world,
he's the hero of his book.
Of his book and his story, he's the hero. He's not doing anything bad. Yeah. And we felt like we could empathize with him.
Right.
And what is that saying to our kids? It makes for interesting stories. Don't get me wrong. And I think that's one of the reasons why that movie was great. But what are these kids learning lessons from being able to empathize with characters like that? Now in the second movie, he was teetering over that line of like, is he doing the right thing? Is he doing the wrong thing? And then all of a sudden he was just like, I'm a horrible, terrible.
Just kidding. I'm evil.
I'm a terrible villain.
Right. And I think that happens more often than not when you flirt with the line.
Right.
Right. Like if you're like, I'm on the line of, and you lean more towards the I can be bad, but still be good.
I'm accomplishing good by doing bad things or something like that.
Or like where it worries me, like I'll go back to like when I talk about teenagers or when I talk about people, it's like Saturday night, like I can do it. I can party, or I can be promiscuous, or I can be whatever. Like it's fine because I'm still gonna go to church on Sunday and I'm still gonna wear my cross necklace. But if you're flirting with that line, it's more often than not you're gonna fall on the other side, and you're not gonna land on the side over here where Christ is calling you to be. You're gonna land on the other side, and we saw that with Thanos as being that example of, Thanos in the movie. You're like, oh man, like maybe he's got a point. Like he's trying to help the world or the universe, but then at the end of it, he was just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm killing these people out of spite because I want to.
Yeah.
And he floated with that
Walking
line. He
that
walked
line,
that line and ended up.
And so
falling.
we're not saying because I think
Thanos is evil. That's what we're trying to say.
But yeah, I love Deadpool and all those movies. They're really fun and they do a great job with them. But like, you know, kids especially, they're very susceptible to the culture, and like, I think it's just a matter of, you know, speaking us watching the movies. I think we need to pray and say like, you know, is this something that is helping me in my faith life, in my prayer life? Let's pray to God and say, okay, no, this is just something separate. I'm going to push that aside. But like, kids can really resonate within it. So I think it's a matter of like talking with them and debriefing.
Yeah, and I think that it's we have to remember above everything else that we were created to be good. When in the beginning, when God made the heavens and the earth, when he made us, when he made man in his own image, he said, "And it is good." God has declared us good. So anytime we're going against what God's calling us to do, we're going against our original design, which is why we don't feel as fulfilled when we're going against God, because it's against what we're designed to do, you know? And I think that I'll go back. It's not really a superhero reference, but like I go into like Star Wars, okay? I don't know how fanboy you are with Star Wars in comparison to me.
I know some stuff.
But Anakin is thinking that by doing this bad stuff, he's going to help his wife. And then all of a sudden he gets a lust for this power. And then like this anger and everything, it leads him to the darker and darker and darker, and then he becomes Darth Vader, right? But like the beautiful part of that movie is like Luke, his son, is always like, there's good. You're still good because you were made good. Like you are good. Deep down, you're good.
Yeah.
You know, and that redemption story of then Darth Vader then is able to come back and save his son in the end, and he realizes his goodness towards the end, at the end of Return of the Jedi. But like, so like we are made to be good, and we need to have less people glorifying like the heroes, like the Deadpools and those guys,
correct,
and more of like people going out, be Captain America.
And that's great because again, we are all deeply flawed people. That's in our nature. We are flawed, but we are made to be good. And so look at other characters like Iron Man, who is, I mean, he talk about
deeply flawed.
Talk about like a Christ-like ending for
it's that sacrifice.
It's the sacrifice that he made. And so again, deeply flawed character, and we are all deeply flawed like that, I think, but we're all called to move towards someone like Captain America, who is just wholeheartedly, absolutely good. And you know, I think that's wonderful that in the end, Iron Man made that sacrifice and exemplified those Christ-like, duties to sacrifice himself for all of mankind. That's if we're talking about Christ-like examples in movies, there's the biggest one right there. But so even though he was flawed, he was able to make that ultimate choice of good.
Well, I love there's my nerdness is going to come out here a little bit, but in the movie Civil War, when Iron Man and Captain America are fighting, they both say a line to each other that they end up, it's like a prophecy about a flaw about each other that ends up getting fulfilled in Endgame. And it's Captain America, or Iron Man says to Captain America, everything special about you came out of a bottle, because he was made into the super soldier.
Yeah.
But when the hammer of Thor, right, chose him because he was good, it wasn't because he was a superhero, it was because of who he was as a person, right? It was because who he was created to be. Right, so we're all
what
special.
A cool moment that movie, that part of that movie.
Oh yeah, it was the highlight of the movie. But that like that's us. Like we are made good. Like we are made to be great. Like we are good. We just have to choose to be.
Choose it every day. Yeah, you can get injected with whatever. You can get. Don't take drugs, people. But like, you can receive superpowers and everything. But these gifts that are given,
it's who you are in here.
You can choose to do the good things with them, or you can choose to do bad things. You could become a supervillain if you choose to do that. You could become an anti-hero if you choose that, or you can become a true superhero if you choose.
Exactly. And that scene of him, like when Iron Man said that everything special about you came out of the bottle, and in that movie when he gets the hammer, it's like no, like this would have happened whether he was a superhero or not.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, Captain America says to Iron Man, like, you won't make the hard choice when the time comes, because he's saying like you're selfish. And then Iron Man The coolest part is Iron Man. Like there's a scene with Doctor Strange where he always knew what he knew what he had to do.
The one choice.
So he always had the backup plan in that glove. That if Thanos got it, Iron Man could get it immediately.
Right.
He knew that he could get it. Like it was always the plan. You know, it wasn't what he wanted to do, but he knew that he had to do it.
He had to do it.
And that scene of like, you know,
I mean, look at Jesus in the garden crying like, Lord, if there's another way.
If there's another way, but God, I almost think that's God. There's one.
We were holding up one finger right now. If
there's
the one way. This is it. And he goes, your will be done.
Yeah,
your will be done.
That symbolism there, leading us back to Christ.
It's beautiful.
And that and that's the crazy thing is we look at all these superheroes and like, you know, like wow, like look at all these amazing things like and Iron Man, I love you 3000. I sacrifice myself for the world. Like that's our God, everybody. Yes, we have all these awesome superheroes and all these awesome movies and all these awesome things, but we have that God. We've had that God for 2,000 years. That all of those incredible things that these superheroes are, that's the God that we love. That's Jesus Christ. He is all of those things. He takes the Infinity Gauntlet, he snaps his fingers, and he saves the world. He is worthy. He makes you worthy to grab that hammer, to live in that faith. Like that is our God. That is our faith. Jesus is the superhero of this world. He is the example for all of us to follow. He is the ultimate way, the truth, and the life that he says that he is. I got fired up there.
That's amazing. So look to that example. He is our ultimate superhero, just like his shirt right here. Mm-hmm. All these amazing superheroes are looking to Jesus. So look to Jesus in your lives, but use that as an example to be the superhero of your particular story. Choose to be good every day. Choose that ultimate good so that you could pick up that hammer if that opportunity came around, that you would be worthy to pick up the hammer.
Yeah, because God calls you worthy. God calls you worthy, but you have to choose God every day. You have to choose to run to Jesus every day. You have to choose to be more like him every day because God has already anointed you worthy. You have to choose now. You have to use that superpower of free will to choose God every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, let's go out and be superheroes. I am fired up about this episode. I am super pumped. Hashtag super pumped. That's our superpower. That's our thing.
Super pumped.
Hashtag. Well, wait. What was your superpower? You asked me. I forgot to ask you.
Oh, what was my superpower?
Yeah, we're wraps. We made all the points we wanted to make.
I would probably say super strength.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I know it's basic, but I don't know. I've always wanted to be strong.
I got the perfect pitch thing. Danny's going basic with super strength. That's cool, man. You do you.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys comment in? Tell us what your superpower would be. Get creative or be basic, whatever you want to do. We won't judge you. But comment in. Let's keep this conversation going because we love reading your comments. We love reading all of your thoughts. Sometimes it takes us a little bit to get to them, but we do read them all, and we can't thank you enough for all of those thoughts, comments, and support.
If you want to be a real superhero for us, please consider being a patron and helping us out financially on Patreon. It does help us a ton, especially with all the transition we're going through with our new podcast. We're going to have a new setup real soon. And we got a lot of different things we're going on. So if you feel you can do that and you'd like to help us, we'd greatly appreciate that. And follow us on Instagram, like Ryan said. And if you have any interest in having us come out, or Ryan does music, I do speaking. Anybody out there that is interested in having us on retreats or anything like that, please shoot us an email, message us on Instagram, whatever.
2catholicdudes@gmail.com. Instagram _2catholicdudes.
Yeah.
Facebook, find us. We throw our Tuesday thoughts up every Tuesday. We throw Psalm of the Week every Wednesday. We are putting stories up. Interact with us. We love chatting with you.
Awesome. All right. And I think that's it.
Go out. Be superheroes, you guys. Let's do this together. And we will see you soon.
Peace.